Good morning. Happy Sunday, everybody. Sunday submission for MMAnews.com. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel where this video lives when it gets saved over at MMAnews.com's YouTube channel. Make sure you click the like and the notification button if you're watching this there. So, funny name for the show because there was quite a lot of submissions between the two Bellator events and the UFC that was late last night. So I apologize for the bags on my eyes because that went a little late. The main card didn't start till 10:30 ish between the college football game and everything that was on. So excuse me. Yeah, it was definitely. Oh, I should have brought water. I'm already recording this live, so oh well. Get ready for a lot of old man noises with me clearing my throat and stuff. So I guess I'll work backwards from that. And before I move on, make sure you check out the interviews we have at MMAnews.com's YouTube channel. Tim Johnson, Hanato Moicano, and much more to come this week as we head towards UFC 254. But in the meantime, let's look back at what happened last night at UFC on ESPN, Holm versus Aldana. So, here we are at MMAnews.com where you can check on the results. So I'm not trying to. I don't like to be negative. You know, it was a dominant performance by Holly Holm. Defeated. It was 5-round, all Holly Holm. She ran in circles pretty much for 5 rounds. There was some nice clinch work and some takedown attempts though. But I mean, I want to say if we're looking at, and again, I hinted at the whole Sunday submission thing as we led up to the opening of this. There was the submissions that stood out from the UFC event at Fight Island last night. I mean, you had 1, 2, 3. I'm looking at the results that are on screen here. I mean, when they're cool back and forth fights, I mean, I'm all for it. But we had 1 TKO. And the Jermaine Duran to me is a guillotine choke, which I'm going to get into because that was beautiful. Yeah, split draw, the head kick at the first. I mean, I guess that goes with a late card, right? But anyway, when you talk about fighter evolution, I mean, Holly Holm, even though it was a lot of those moves were coming, I'm not sure what happened. I thought Irene Aldana would have had the edge, especially when any clinch work came. But if anything, I mean, we've seen Holm kind of outsmart grapplers before, especially if you look at her fight with Ronda Rousey, that whole thing with when Rousey would come in for the throw, she did one simple thing where she would remove the arm and kind of reinsert it, or just remove it so that the underhook wasn't there for the elevation of the throw. But we're not talking about that fight. We're talking about this fight. And in this fight, she went for a takedown, which I thought was, first I was like, oh, good, she's she's evolving in her grappling, and I was surprised that I mean, obviously Aldana has great takedown defense. She is the better grappler, but she didn't really get a chance to use any of it because of for Holly Holm was backpedaling and counterpunching a lot, and then when Aldana tried to get aggressive, she used that lead leg sidekick that she uses in her fights to pick up a win. So it was a great showing, but I don't know. I just rewatched it before I started recording this, and I feel like maybe Aldana was a little off. Or her head wasn't in the game. The thing is, like, if you look at they're gonna do with UFC 254, they're showing that's gonna be early in the day. For folks that don't know, they put it on the broadcast last night, and I always have to wonder. So they're fighting like at 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that there, and I always have to wonder, with the given the time that they arrive, I wonder how it affects the fighters. We all have our internal clocks. The fighters on that side of the world probably can adjust to it better. But I feel like fighters like Aldana and Holm, maybe not everybody is adjusting to it. The fighters that I have interviewed, I know when I've asked this question about how they adjusted time changes, especially when they're fighting in places like Saudi Arabia, Australia, or things like that, they've told me that what they do is, because they have their own training camps, they set up that time to train. They'll train at that time. Like there'll be guys in the gym at 3 a.m. our time, or whatever the time is there to match it, so that their clock is already kind of set for where they're going to be at, and it's not something that's going to mess with their minds or what have you. So I don't know if that's what happened with Aldana, but I mean, dominant performance by Holly Holm. So she's we'll be seeing her main eventing again soon, I guess, or on some main card soon. But if there was a standout submission of the night, and I know we call this segment Sunday submission, but it's more like a content submission. It's a play on words, if you haven't figured that out yet. But anyway, but obviously, as a guy that's into submissions, even though I started my martial arts training and striking half my life, but as a guy that's into submissions now, I was super impressed with talking about evolution of a fighter. Jermaine Duran to me, she got taken down, but she played butterfly guard. I'm replaying the fight in my mind now. She got taken down. She played butterfly guard. She did all right against a pretty good or really good grappler in Juliana Pena. I wonder if Pena underestimated. I mean, she did really well to get a submission in the final round, the guillotine choke, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. We got a couple of submissions to talk about, especially when we talk about the Bellator events, which I should have enough time for. So I'm wondering if Juliana Pena, just because of Duran to me coming from striking and what we saw. When you look at what happened when she fought Amanda Nunes was able to take her down at will and control her. There was moments where she could have submitted her, but didn't, because she wanted to. She said this is the Nunes-Duran to me fight. After that fight, Nunes said she wanted to show, because people were talking about conditioning. She might have conditioning issues and things like that. So she wanted to show that she can do the whole 5 rounds, and that's why we saw that there. So Duran to me showed some evolution in her game. I mean, obviously she had the striking advantage. She was landing a lot, which is what made Pena force the clinch and the takedowns and stuff, and she did so well with it. But Duran to me, she did the butterfly hooks. She worked well off of her back, and the thing is, when in the 3rd round, she kind of did. I'm gonna probably date myself, and maybe you guys didn't see it, but I forget what season of Ultimate Fighter it was, where we had Cody McKenzie. He was on Team GSP, I think, so it might have been GSP versus Sarah or something like that. I forget what season of Ultimate Fighter that was, but there was a fighter that GSP knew was going to win by guillotine, and Cody McKenzie, who kind of trademarked his own version of a guillotine choke. So if you're looking at the choke, my camera's not that good for it, but so he does an adjustment with his hands, and I rewatched UFC's last night, because so if I remember how she had her hands, it's probably on Twitter somewhere, but she did kind of a version of where she went palm to palm. So Cody McKenzie will do this with his guillotine. Let's see if that's showing. We'll do this with his guillotine with his hands. So the space in here, see how small it is? So he kind of did this when he would choke people, making it super tight. And that's sort of what she didn't interlock her fingers with the gloves, but I feel like she did one of these with the high elbow. So when you switch the elbow in, it kind of just makes everything in line. So as she got that arm under her neck, she did that, and with no guard. Usually when you have a guillotine, you want to have some sort of guard or a leg over their back or what have you, because they can hop over and things like that. So there was actually 2 times during the fight when she had top position. I'm sorry, one time during the fight when she had top position, where we saw evolution in her grappling game, because she went for a Von Flue choke off of Pena's attempted guillotine, and it was pretty tight. I know Dan Hardy's really audible when he does the Fight Island cards, and he was saying how tight it was, and you could see in Juliana she was making the adjustment with her head looking away to kind of relieve the pressure on her carotids so that she wouldn't get choked out. So, hey, I was super impressed with Jermaine Duran. I know she got a lot of hate in the past because of whatever. I kind of never really understood it. Oh yeah, it was because she wouldn't fight Cyborg. Now that I remember. But I mean, other than that, I mean, at least she's doing things. She's correcting the mistakes that she made from the fight that she lost against Nunes. She called her out at the end of that, so I thought that was impressive. And I really, of course, it's super impressive when someone shows that they're working on their evolving for mixed martial arts, especially coming from striking. I mean, you know, when wrestlers get really good boxing, and they make the transition to MMA and they start knocking people out, they discover that the explosive power that they had from their wrestling translates super well to mixed martial arts and their striking, which is why they have that knockout power that they have. So I was really impressed with Durandamy's win last night, and I do like that she made it known that she she's kind of still always going to be a threat to the oh wow, things are pretty bad. I'm trying to bring up the Bellator results from Bellator too. So Bellator, I'm trying to give 10 minutes to each event. Bellator had 2 events in Milan, and yeah, the main event for the Thursday, Bellator 247, was supposed to be Paul Daly. And his fight, we lost his fight because of supposed to be Paul Daly versus Derek Anderson. We lost that fight because of um, Daly had that bad weigh-in. People were calling it a botch or whatever. He was wheeled off to the hospital. The thing about that is, they're gonna reschedule that probably at Mohegan Sun out here on the East Coast. Um, Man, I wish I can get there. It's just I usually do cover events at Mohegan Sun, but the quarantining and all the extra time it takes to now you need a lot of extra time just for the quarantine stuff for the COVID-19. So it's tough to get to events these days if it's not your full-time thing, which if you guys haven't figured that out, this is part-time for me. But anyway, Bellator 247 Daly main event. Daly versus Derek Anderson got canceled because of Daly's issue, and he said actually afterward, once he was safe, that they're going to reschedule the fight, but it's probably going to be his last fight. He's actually going to, I guess, because of everything that happened with the weigh-in, and he's been fighting for a while too. He's looking at it time to hang up the gloves for his career. So, I mean, you never know with professional athletes, though. I mean, it's hard. That's a hard decision to make in anything that you do. Whether you be retiring from a job or whatever, never mind professional sports, but that's one of those choices you make because it's kind of like you're coming towards the end of the road there. You know what I mean? So shout out to him for realizing that. But Bellator 2 so the main event wound up being Denise Kyle Holtz versus Kate Jackson, and I'm sorry if I butchered your last name, Denise, because I really was impressed with that. And talking about Fighter Evolution, she I mean, for someone that's another striker that came from kickboxing, here are the results up over at MMAnews.com. Talking about let's see if we can't play that here. Here's her finish here. Mute the commentary. But look at that. I mean, she first round stoppage is 43 seconds, I think was that's not playing here. 43 seconds. first round knockout. And then yeah, obviously you had a couple of there's a couple of unique submissions on that card that I really liked. The knee bar. If you watch the prelims on YouTube, Lewis Long's prelim, he was kind of like the main of top of the prelim card. He had that knee bar submission, which I personally felt because I got knee barred twice 2 weeks ago, 2 days in a row. Well, my knee's still hurting. I'm just going through the card here. It was the first fight on Bellator 247. They have it written on MMAnews.com as a body lock. There's a lot of names for that submission. I've heard it called a TP submission, TP body lock submission. You can get a choke from there too. I think there was I think it was a fight to win that I saw the TP submission where you get. So all it is a rib compression on the lower floating ribs. So if you do stand like folks stand like they're a superhero, get your hands up a little higher, you'll feel where your ribs kind of float in. The lower ribs are kind of that don't all come out all the way around. That's where you feel it, and they kind of get bent in. So if you saw that submission, it was crazy because they're both from kickboxing, but obviously her opponent, that's another one with a name that I don't want to butcher. Monica Chochlikova. It was MMA debut for both women. First card on the fight, and that submission actually made it to ESPN. That body lock, so it was nice to see in round 2. But it looks like Monica Chochlikova, when she got that move over Jade Duran, it was definitely one of those. Let's get that graphic out of the way because I know my producer doesn't care too much for the graphics on here. That's a painful submission. It's actually one of the first unique submissions I've ever felt when I jumped into grappling. A guy by the name out here in Jersey, Eddie Rolone of Team Endgame. I think he's running for office out in Lodi now, but he put me in that as a submission from the guard. So I think in the first round she saw that she was in the guard when they were on the ground a lot, and Duran played some nice guard too. I mean, these are strikers coming into MMA, and if we're looking back, you have to evolve, and they both worked on it, but some evolve faster than others. Like we just talked about with Duran to me and Holm, and a lot of kickboxing actually. Now I'm looking at kickboxing women coming into MMA doing all right for themselves, but that was a really unique submission. People right away, you see the comments like, oh. And it's weird because the counter to that body lock submission is to just kind of twist your rib cage out of it. But then when you do that, you risk giving up your back and things like that. So, it's like you have to choose the lesser of a troublesome position for some escapes. And I don't know if it was because she got her bell rung in the first round too. Duran, she got dropped in the first round of that fight, but I'm not. She was probably fatigued and suffering and stress, and but it is combat. There's some stress in that. But yeah, nice submission from her. And then same day yesterday, hours before the UFC event, James Gallagher and Cal Eleanor finally got to face off. If you know the history of that fight, they've been trying to fight for a while. Different things happen, including pandemics that have delayed or postponed that fight. So it finally happened, and first round submission for James Gallagher, who if we interviewed, I had the pleasure of interviewing both men for when they did the press conference in New York. This was back in March, the week that the pandemic was cleared. That was on a Monday. Pandemic was declared on a Wednesday or Thursday. It was like the 11th. I know the day of the pandemic was the 11th, so that was March 9th that we were at the Viacom headquarters, MMA News. For that, they announced their spring summer like events, and then obviously they all got the rug pulled from under them because of the pandemic. But so if you go on, you can actually go on our YouTube channel and check all those interviews out, because Gallagher with that submission victory, which was super tight. I'll talk about the details of that in a minute. But at that press conference, there was a lot of beef going on between, almost everyone in the room wanted to fight James Gallagher. you know, whether it be his association with McGregor and almost similar cockiness or whatever. But I mean, he backed it up on last night at the main event with against Eleanor. He's got, I think that's 7 submissions by a rear naked choke. I'd have to look it up, but he definitely showed that he's because Eleanor, I personally thought it would have been more of a fight. But I don't know. Sometimes if you're really good at one move, let's look at Crow Cop. Everybody knew that left high kick was coming, and there was no stopping it. And Gallagher, you watch that fight. They squared off. Gallagher threw a lead leg kick. There was some exchange up. I think there were some punches thrown, and when Eleanor threw his leg kick to at Gallagher's leg, Gallagher had it seemed prepared. He was immediately ready to jump down. I didn't realize my hair standing up here. It's my headset. He timed in the takedown. So as soon as the leg came around, he times the takedown, shoots in for the straight double, takes him down. And the thing I noticed after watching him fight so many times, once Gallagher takes it back, whether it be for the body lock or what have you, he had the body triangle on Eleanor for most of the fight. And the thing that makes people, it's not that, I don't want to say because he is good at it. He's got so many submission victories. I'm trying to find the right way to say it's his. I tweeted it. The reason he's so good at it is because of his patience. Once he gets to that position, you know, he maintained that body, especially for this particular fight. Maintained the body triangle. Was able to get the punch away or whatever. But he was super patient with sinking his arm in to get the win. And whether it's face crank or whatever, once you get in low enough on the chin or on the teeth or under the nose, it's going to be uncomfortable enough. And he doesn't force the squeeze to the point that he fatigues himself, is what I noticed too, because he had it in earlier before the tap finally came. Eleanor did fight it off one time, pushing up with the elbow when they were against the cage. He just has, once he's locked in there, he does such a good job. He'll drop some punches or whatever, but he doesn't force anything. A lot of times a guy will fight and force for a submission. They'll burn out their shoulders and it'll affect the rest of the fight and move on to something else. But Gallagher doesn't do that. He hangs out there and he punches away. And even if you're defending, if the 2-on-1 means there's still a hand free back there, and he's happy to slap away at you and pound away until the submission comes. So that was a really nice win for him. And he said he's willing to fight anyone. Going back to what I said about when we MMA News were in Viacom building covering the event, all those guys out of the Pitbull camp, who wants to fight him? Leandro Higo and I think Patrick said that afterwards. And Gallagher, when I asked him that, he says everyone's just kind of hating the success and attention that he's getting. I don't know if there's any truth to that. Who knows? It's all up to the you'd have to ask everyone. But there is something to be said about when a promotion, and this is the promoting part of the fight game, especially UFC, everybody does it. They have their fighters that if they have some sort of it factor, they're going to that person's going to be on camera more. They're going to be on more posters. And I know they keep calling him Conor McGregor copy or whatever, what have you. But listen, in my opinion, I think Gallagher's a better grappler than Conor McGregor. He seems to handle his losses just fine. And he's super respectful, after the fight. If they were jumping at each other in New York, from what I remember. I don't know if we have any of that on camera. You'd have to scroll back and look at the YouTube channel videos that myself and former managing editor Fernando Quiles, because he and I were both on deck for covering that event. But there was a lot of pandemonium because of all the people jumping at Gallagher. But Gallagher and Eleanor were, because of how many times the fight got delayed and stuff like that, there was animosity there, and it looked like they squashed it, which I like to see in competition, because if it's true, I know it's fighting, but it's also the sport of fighting, so sportsmanship and martial arts especially, we shouldn't disrespect it and stuff like that. And they seemed like they squashed everything when once the fight was over, so it was good to see. But Gallagher still had to talk his trash and get the people ready for his next fight. I mean, he seemed to call out the whole division. He seems to want a title fight. I don't know if that's you know that's gonna happen. I mean, it's weird when you look at we talk about the push that like Bellator pushed MVP, and then when he fought Douglas Lima, he kind of went back to fighting where we're used to seeing him fighting. Um, so I don't know if that's going to happen with Gallagher. I feel like it might happen with him. Uh, because he's probably someone that's making the right evolutionary moves to grow in mixed martial arts. But I just dropped my pen. But I don't know, man. I'm looking forward to what happens. I'm glad Bellator's back. They will be in Paris. Is their next event? That's going to be October 10th, next Saturday. And if you haven't figured it out yet, I wrote about it over at MMAnews.com. They've made the move from Paramount Network to CBS Sports, so they're in full swing at CBS Sports. Which means we get live events. And if you can't if you can't catch the entire card, Bellator has been cool enough to put the prelims on YouTube now to watch live, so you can at least get some of them. And like I said, that the Chochlikova submission, that body lock one was the first one on the YouTube channel. So was that knee bar before they moved into the main card. But yeah, it's definitely going to put more eyes on them, and hopefully we're getting more eyes here at the MMAnews.com YouTube channel. So thank you so much for subscribing. I've noticed the subscription numbers jump up. I'm sure that's more thanks to James Lynch and his awesome interviews. He does have Tim Johnson. I believe Johnson's fighting Congo at that Bellator event, October 10th. So make sure you check out that interview. Again, I search for comments and stuff and questions, and the one that we got, I always try to answer the following Sunday. So if you like what we're doing here, thanks for those that have given the thumbs up over at the YouTube channel. Please, any questions or comments or anything you want me to address, even if you want to make fun of my hair, I'll read it off in the next broadcast. But I appreciate you watching. Next week we got the Marlon Moraes. I forgot who he's fighting. I'm sorry, but we're not going to not have a UFC event up until December 12th again. So there's fights every weekend. Next weekend, so we'll have both of those to talk about. That's the 10th, right? Today's 4th. Yeah. So next weekend, we're definitely going to have another Bellator and UFC event. I love it myself. I mean, the timing was perfect yesterday. I had the Bellator, and in a couple hours to rest and refresh, and then UFC. That was a little bit, again, bags under the eyes, so maybe that was a little too late for me, but I stood up and watched it. And I do like it. I mean, there's a time when we fight fans, especially us MMA fans, you were lucky if you got a pay-per-view once a month. This is the OG fans I'm talking about. Now, you're not short of any fighting for a while. MMA's been the sport that's been back the longest since COVID hit, and I'm happy it is, man. It definitely gives us something to write and talk about here at MMAnews.com. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for those that watch on the Periscope and stuff on my personal accounts on Twitch and Periscope. Make sure you follow MMAnews.com. Again, thank you again for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying these. And again, any feedback is appreciated. I'll make sure I comb my hair better next time. But again, it was a late night. I tell you, it was a late night over there at Fight Island. So, all right, I'll talk to you. Tapping out. Enjoy your Sunday.